companies believe that.
The company does,
Yeah, the company believes
right? It's
whatever is
what's it
going to
called?
give them profit.
It's the New York Times effect. There's a name for like when you're reading like an article in a newspaper where you're reading an article and you're not an expert in the field in the subject matter. You're reading it, like, yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah. And then you flip to the section that you know very well. Like let's say you're an economist and you're reading like the politics section. Like yeah, no, this is a really deep insight into the politics. Wow, that makes this person is really smart. That makes so much sense. And you're reading in the science and you're like, wow, well this physics problem. I totally understand that. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's really insightful. And then you flip to the economics section. You're like, what is this garbage? Who wrote this? Did they have monkeys on the typewriter? This is stupid. And then you flip to you flip to the humanities section. You're like, wow, this is really interesting. I didn't know it was like it's that kind of thing, but like
Yeah.
it's like the monkey's paw version of it, where it's like some computer nerd said, "Oh, I think I could write a computer to do everyone else's job better than them." And the
Mm-hmm.
irony is, the only person whose job they can do better than them is the computer guys.
Yeah.
Um, but like, it's one of those things where it's like everyone thinks that AI can do everyone's job but theirs, because when they see it do everyone else's job, they're like, "Wow, this is really good." And then when they see it do their job, they're like, "This is trash. You guys think this is acceptable? I would get fired if I made this. Are you joking?" And then they
Mm-hmm.
see, let's say you're someone who does art, right? You're a graphic designer, and you're seeing all this AI stuff coming. You're like, dude, I would get fired if my stuff looked half as bad as this. Like, hello, this is unacceptably bad. And then you see it, write a paragraph like summarizing some economic thing, and you're like, dude, AI can replace economists. It could run the economy. It's like, no, you just don't know what it's talking about, so you have no frame of reference, so you don't know how it's just as dumb there as it is over here. Like, it has its uses. It's a great assistant because it's very general. It has a very broad knowledge base. But because of the way it works, because it's just like a giant matrix program, like it won't be able to engage in the levels of like specificity and refinement that most people are. And if what I've seen is to be believed, a lot of AI is very rapidly approaching sort of this like intelligence event horizon, where like I say event horizon, but it's like it's sort of an impassable point. They can't get more intelligent and more efficient. Um, Even no matter how much more, like the power demand to become the next little bit smarter becomes exponential,
Mm-hmm.
and the complexity demand goes up and up and up and up. Like to get an AI that is 0.1% smarter than like whatever the current generation of Claude is, you need infrastructure that's like an order of magnitude larger than what we could possibly than like what exists now. And to get something that's half a percent smarter than that, you need infrastructure that's 10 times the size of what we have now. Um, and when the programs were really small, it wasn't an issue because we had the infrastructure. But this is why there's so many data centers getting built. This is why there's so much investment in the industry, because like in order for it to get to a point where like to the point that people want it to be at, the infrastructure that has to exist is inordinately large. And even then, it's not going to get that much smarter. It's going to get a little bit smarter, but it's not going to get that much smarter. They make great co-pilots if you're just trying to like putt about your day, and you don't need a super in-depth thing and act like this is like your pilot surgeon, or your bus driver like pilot distinction, right? A bus driver that fails to park the bus properly uh, 10% of the time is a great bus driver.
Mm-hmm.
A pilot that fails to land the plane properly 10% of the time gets fired. Like the margin for like or like yeah, like this is one of those things where it's like the precision. If you're in a field or you're doing something where precision isn't super critical, then AI is great there. Um, or it's useful. I shouldn't say great. It's very useful in those fields. Um, but if you're in a field where like it very precision and like accuracy are like paramount, you probably want a different kind of like when we say AI, generally what we mean is large language models which work off of matrix programs, like at least as far as I understand them, like these things aren't very good at doing the jobs that we need them to. There's a reason you have like specialty built. There's a reason people still have to land airplanes
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's really, 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 really hard to get a computer to do it properly without killing everyone on board. Um,
Yeah,
and I don't
man.
think
Like the amount of times I have to retype a prompt just so we can have a thumbnail for our YouTube videos, like you'd be astounded.
Exactly.
Like I get it.
Right.
I'm using AI. I don't have the art skills or the time or the talent to make the thumbnail, so I'm relying on AI. But it sometimes takes a couple tries and a couple different programs before I get like a this is decent
Yeah.
enough to use as a cover.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like it may this is the big scare in AI, which is this is it. This is 99.99% of as smart as any AI can ever possibly be. Like the difference would be like the difference in intelligence between like if you're hanging out in like a classroom of kids, it's the difference between a kid with an IQ of like 115 and a kid with an IQ of 116 being the smartest possible AI. Like the difference that you can tell is like, I mean, in some areas, I guess maybe, Brendan's smarter, but like he's not that much smarter than Tyler. And
Yeah.
if it costs us, like if you're an employer, right, and you're looking at these things and you're going, okay, ChatGPT, blah 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 blah, costs $20 million to keep running, and ChatGPT, let's call that like 1.0, even though it isn't. Like ChatGPT 1.0 costs $20 million to keep up and running annually, and ChatGPT 2.0, which is 1% better, or even 50% better, costs $200 million. I mean,
Yeah.
do I really need that 1%? Like, do I really need that? And I think the nail in the coffin here. This is my personal opinion. Apple knows this, which is why they one dragged their heels for so long, and two spent a lot of time refining and shrinking their models so they could run locally on devices because they recognize that hey, we are quickly approaching this sort of event horizon of AI intelligence, and we're already at 90+%. No one will really notice a difference. Like, sure, there might be some like invisible line that once you get past it, even if it is like this very small distinction, it actually just becomes so much better. That could happen, and that's what the industry is banking on, is that somewhere between 99 and 99.99999, there's a thin line that once you get past it, all of a sudden AI is so much better. Um, like they're hoping it works like a jet engine, and that the harder and faster you run it, the better it works, and not like a traditional engine where you probably shouldn't be running it like that.
Yeah.
And I think Apple's hedging their bets. Apple's going, hey, we developed our own little AI to work integrated with our phones, and it's 99% as good as all the AI out there. And because that's as good as AI is gonna get, like it doesn't really get that much better. Like it might get like better in little pieces, but this is what people want. This is what's gonna be useful, and this is the future. And people need to stop. I think Apple is very much of the position that people need to work on integrating AI more efficiently, effectively, and like less obtrusively, um,
Yeah.
as a business model, as opposed to spend another, $17 billion trying to make it 0.001% better. It's
Hmm.
like mining crypto. The people who got in early got in best, and then everyone after that is just kind of, pushing for scraps.
Yeah, essentially. And like, now granted, this was back when I was in middle school. So take it like 10, like not 10, like 15 years ago. And actually no longer than that. Oh my god. Beside the point. Um
You're so old.
I know. But I remember
Speaking of old people, Trump RX.
we'll get to that in a second. But I really want to get this point in cuz I still stand by it even if I'm not on it. I'm still by it. I remember
Hmm.
this one it was a computer class and our teacher was like, "Do you think robots will one day take over the world?" And everyone said yes. And I was in middle school over 15 years ago. I understand that technology is advanced. And he said personally, I don't think so, because computers can only learn or spit out what we know. Like you have to program it in order to learn it. Like if you were making a calculator and you left out the digits for the number 2 and you type in 1 plus 1, what is it equal? It will crash because it doesn't know what to give you. It can, not granted, this is AI. It's farther than that. So your whole point of the whole like we're getting 1% better. I think that's because like it can only learn so much. We can give it all of the books in the world, it can read all the books in the world, but it can't tell us anything that of a book that we haven't written yet. Does that make sense? So it
Yeah.
can only go as far as we program it. It can't. Now, is it smarter than the average person? Yes. Is it smarter than everyone in the world put together? slightly less, but you know what I mean. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. We're hitting that point where it's like it may not get better or significantly better in a way that we're all going to see it, unless something happens with computer quantum or
Yeah.
whatever
And
those
listen,
compute.
here's the deal. Not to say that the technology is useless. If we as a species somehow managed to create just like a 115 IQ guy that we can send out to do stuff for us, that's huge. Just to be clear, that's huge. A 115 IQ guy that has access to the entire breadth and depth of human knowledge that we can just call upon for most things, and he's mostly right most of the time. If like that's like a huge boon as a species. And if we can figure out a way to optimize this guy to just be easier and less like environmentally taxing and like financially taxing to keep around, this is like that's a big like achievement. This isn't like a nothing burger AI will evaporate like VR did. But like also he
You say
is
that as I
just
look at my
like this is
Oculus Rift right above my desk.
right. But like
Continue.
it's one of those things where it's like this is genuinely a very impressive leap for humanity. But like this is impressive in the vein of like probably the most impressive inventions in human history are like language, fire, the Gutenberg press, and the
Mm,
internet, and like the top five, like or like the semiconductor, I guess, um,
yeah, fair,
are like
fair.
your top five inventions in human history. Written language, and then written language, and then fire, and then
Language fire.
unironically probably in that order, and then the semiconductor is like your top four, five ish. You could probably throw like maybe the Gutenberg press or like the wheel up there as like your these are the biggest, most important achievements humanity has ever made. AI doesn't crack that, but that's also in the same way that like a rocket ship doesn't crack that or an airplane, where it's like
Yeah.
it's really impressive and it's a huge benefit to everyone when it's applied properly, but like it's not going to be this like shift in the mentality of how our species works the same way like the internet was.
Mm-hmm.
Which to be clear, I stand by the idea that like the internet is like one of the largest, most important achievements in all of human history, and we have not felt the ramifications for the existence of near instantaneous, uh, global, person to person and like mass, like person to many, like communications, and we will continue to feel it for like the next few hundred years. In the same way that like when written language came around, it totally revolutionized society, but it took it a while to get everywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're going to see something very similar to that because of the internet, assuming it doesn't get all knocked out by a giant solar flare here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, fair,
In
fair.
which case, I don't know, back to books, boys.
Back to books. Start buying them.
Maybe better. It's the sun saving us from a future we never wanted. I've read enough Dune.